Hello, folks, and welcome to today's episode of the Hospitable Hosts podcast. I'm your host, Miles Hobson, Head of Marketing here at Hospitable. And thank you so much for listening in. On today's episode, we invite Annie Sloan of the Hostco to share her insights with Hospitable Hosts on upselling products and services to short-term rental guests. Annie is co-founder and CEO of the Hostco, the hospitality platform connecting local amenities to short-term rentals, from massagers and chefs to fresh flowers, bike rentals, and beyond. Prior to the Hostco, Annie was a creative director at both Facebook and Twitter. She has led embedded projects for Google, Airbnb, and Samsung, is a graduate of the University of Southern California Film School, and has produced and directed broadcast television and film internationally. Through her years in film, she spent a cumulative 4 years on projects in Asia, Africa, and Europe, developing both a global point of view and a passion for supporting small business tourism through technology. Annie, welcome.
Thank you, Miles. It's great to be here.
Awesome. Did I do you justice? I feel like I rambled on a little bit, but does that cover your background a bit?
Yeah, I think that I sound way cooler than I am in that intro.
No, I think you're very cool, Annie. Don't worry about that. Awesome. Yeah, so obviously today we're kind of, the title of today's episode is Short-Term Rental Upsell and Made Easy. So, I'd love to kind of get straight into the questions, Annie. And let's start off with some of the basics, right? What are upsells? It's a bit of a trending term at the moment, but maybe you can give us a bit of a definition.
Yeah. So upsells in general in hospitality are things that provide a better experience for your guests, something that is going to improve their stay. I think many people in small hotel and short-term rental hear upsell and they go, I'm not going to sell them coffee. I'm not going to nickel and dime. I'm not going to give them here's a granola bar, leave $2 on the table, right? That is very poor hospitality, right? And it is not in the short-term rental context. It is not a mini bar because that is a nightmare, right? To manage inventory. I mean, some people do it on our platform, but upsells really are things like wellness experiences, things like late checkout, bike rentals. When you think about what hotels do as upsells, what they're doing right when you walk in is they're saying, oh, can we do anything extra for you? Would you like an upgrade? They are positioning upsells as something that is a benefit to you rather than selling something to you, even though they are actually selling that. That's what an upsell is.
Awesome. And then so in the short-term rental space, and you kind of touched on it there, when it relates to short-term rentals, what's the tangible benefits of upsells?
Oh, well, the first is obviously revenue. We have property managers who are making $10,000 more per month. We're paying them out $10,000 and they're selling late checkouts and firewood. Right? That's it. That's the only two things.
Simple.
They're in the Poconos, but they were looking at something like, okay, well, we give firewood away for free. We give a little bit, which you should do. And then inevitably at midnight, people run out and they text you and they say, we're 30 miles from a store. Where do we get firewood? Having that already on site is leads to that second benefit is, oh, we're really happy. Thank you for thinking of us. I'm doing air quotes, but it's true. Thank you for thinking of us and improving our guest experience. And we are willing to pay for that improvement, but it's treated as such a big benefit. So you got the revenue piece, which we see. We had a guest the other day buy $3,600 in amenities. That eclipses the nightly rate. It was 4 massages, chef's dinner for 8, and a guided hike, which isn't that wild? I mean, that's just wild how when you tie those things together, how much money is there. Secondary benefit is better guest experience. A third benefit that people don't think of very often, and I have short-term rentals. That's how I actually got into this specific field. I know from TV, but I had short-term rentals and I saw this problem over and over again. People ask you the same questions every day. I think if you are a host or a property manager, you already know this. And the name of the game is automating those answers so you do not have to answer them. If you have 8 cottages, you're going to get 6 people a day asking for a late checkout and 2 people a day asking where they can get a massage, right? So there is a whole lot of operational efficiency in showing your guest right after they book, showing them what they can get from an upsell and showing them that there is a price attached to it. So if it's late checkout, for example, they now know, oh, I can get a late checkout. Well, obviously you have to know about the people checking in, or a mid-stay clean. They might ask about a mid-stay clean, and they know there's a price. So it becomes very binary. Either they're willing to pay for it and they ask, or they don't ask anymore. Right. So we've had property managers say to us, oh, I used to get 8 questions a day and now I get 2. And those 2 are the people who are actually willing to pay for that service anyway. So it streamlines a lot of my communication. Or, for example, a lot of wellness services, where you can rent bikes, things like that. If you're getting that question all the time, answer that question before they even ask it by showing them right after they book because everyone generally wants the same thing in your area. At least what we've found is people are going to ask the same questions, right? Okay. So there's the operational efficiency part of it. And then there's a really surprising part of it. And this is the last thing I'll say about this, which is marketing. So when you have amenities attached to your rentals, you are able to talk about them if you have direct marketing and you have a direct marketing email stream. Here's an example. We had a property manager that added a mobile tattoo artist for the week of Coachella. Coachella just happened. Biggest day of the year, definitely the highest, ADR of the year in Coachella Valley. There's 1,900 listings in the lower high desert area, right? 1,900. 4 months ago, that property manager sent out an email to their email list that said, week of Coachella only, mobile tattoo artist on demand. Everybody opened that email. They got it.
Yeah, for sure.
There's another property manager out there. You know what they said? Early bird, 15% off. So you are able to share amenities as a marketing stream and a rebooking stream, and you can change them. They don't have to be a mobile tattoo artist. In most places, that's not legal, by the way. California, it is legal, but it's our low season around the holidays. We're going to do holiday decor. And there's going to be a cost associated with it, but people are going to go, ooh, another reason I should go back and stay there. So, and hotels have done this forever, right? They're like, oh, pop-up chef, or we're having some art show or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It just creates a much better content for marketing.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so, like, you obviously touched on some, I don't want to say extreme examples there, like pretty wow examples, right? So, like, for an everyday host that's not near Coachella, maybe, what's a good way of identifying good opportunities for upsell, like things that would actually be in demand from their guests?
Yeah. Well, number one, listening to your guests, because many property managers have gotten these questions so often and they don't really think about them anymore. So it comes back to, or if you have, your boots on the ground team and you're, in the office, you might not hear these as much. Start listening for what they want. Very common purchases are things like mid-stay cleaning, fresh flowers, bike rentals, boat rentals, definitely alterations, which I think you can do some of them through Hospitable. And if you can, you should keep doing them because you can probably have a little bit more scheduling integration. But anything wellness is huge. If you have a larger property offering some sort of chef service if it's a family reunion, or we're 4 families and we go to Orlando every year, the hibachi guy, we can connect that for you. We can schedule them. We can pay them out. Or something that's going to make it a really unique experience for that family to come back to, but automated. Those are always big sellers. Wellness, if you look at the analog of hotels, wellness is taking over from food and beverage. It depends. I mean, if you're in Las Vegas, it's going to be alcohol, right? But in so many places, and not just massage, Reiki healer, sound bath, in Joshua Tree is where we started. Vegan charcuterie board. People order that.
Wow. Yeah. I don't know what would be on it, but fair enough. Yeah.
Totally. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know either.
That's cool though. I love it. And so you kind of touched before on kind of the marketing aspect, I guess. How can upselling help you with rebooking as well? Because I think there's probably an angle there too, right?
Yeah, there's a huge angle there. It's being able to email people or even text them, but email is, if you have a great email stream, with a number of different things. One, hey, this season we're introducing this thing. And that can be a vendor that the host co is vetting for you. So you're not going out and finding, axe throwing in the Poconos, or we don't do as many experiences off-site. We tend to say things that can happen at the house. If it's, we've connected a sommelier from the Natural Wine Bar to come for your girls' weekend, right? Or something like that. But you can just rotate those out. And in Hostco stores, you can turn on and off any vendors. You can say, this season, we're going to have this one. This next season, we're going to have that. You can also reach out with your own offers of whatever you're offering. And then you can also reach out, even things like, oh, we're adding merch, right? Oh, this season, let's say the summer season is coming up. We are adding aprons, real big family reunion. If you're in whatever, Destin, Florida, or wherever, often if it's a couple, the woman is booking the place. And if you remind her, I don't want to be very gendered about it, but 3 months ahead of time, oh my gosh, we have these cute aprons. It's so funny how people book, right? They're so penny wise when they're booking, but if you give them one thing that they're not going to see in another rental, that margin of 2% or whatever, they're going to go, oh, but they have those aprons, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's the little things that make the difference, right? For sure. Yeah. Cool. So just kind of, you started to touch on it a bit there. Really think about, how does technology play a role here, and, automate a system to make this happen? Because, it sounds like a lot of work to go and, recruit a sommelier and, get them to the front door and make sure they're arriving at the time that, or the day that they've been requested on, kind of thing. How does the Hostco, play a part in that?
So automation is everything, right? The idea of upsells and offering things to your guests is in no way new. And I like to say, we know we're on the right track with the company when almost everyone we talk to says, oh, I had the idea for that company already, right? But before it was, let me leave something on the counter and you leave me some cash, or Venmo back and forth. Oh, what's your phone number, et cetera. So what we did is we looked at this from a situation of how can the host not touch this at all, the whole experience, right? I mean, there's the setup, which you just set up a store. It imports via your zip code the vendors in your area that we've pre-vetted. And those are vendors that generally hotels use as well. So Soothe and Zeal for massage, Fire, Forks, and Knives. And then we start to get down to more local vendors when we've taken the time to vet them, make sure they have insurance, et cetera. So how it works is when your guest books, you add your Hostco store to your automated messaging. Hey, we're so excited to have you stay. If you'd like any amenities or services like massage, chef, fresh flowers, mid-stay cleaning, whatever you want to say, because you should say something that's not just, no one knows what amenities means anymore, right? Check out our store. Your guest is then going to have that link immediately, and they're going to see what's available. If they say, we want a mid-stay cleaning while we're there, they can say, I want to request a mid-stay cleaning. They add their credit card info, and we hold that credit card info and send the message to you. You can also attach that to your cleaner. Your cleaner can approve it. Oh, we have people that attach it to a Slack channel that have lots of properties for cleaning, right? Annie Sloan has asked for mid-stay cleaning at this place at this time. Can you do it? If you say yes or your cleaner says yes, we process the transaction. So we take the payment. And then email the guest and you saying, great, this is all set. If you'd like to add it to your Google Calendar, soon it will be also added to things like Hospitable Calendars. And we then pay you out for that service. So you as the host don't need to maybe approve it or your cleaner approve it. You haven't done any work. And in fact, in many circumstances, like that $3,600 transaction I was telling you about, the property manager was asleep when that happened, and it pinged it pinged the chef, it pinged the massage person, but she woke up and she was like, oh, I just made a bunch of money while I was asleep. So that is why the difference of automation is, how can I get this to be less and less work, to the fact that I almost don't have to think about it. Well, I mean, with all technology, that's why we're doing this. I mean, that's why people use Hospitable, right? Is they're like, this is just overwhelming, this amount of work. So
for sure, yeah. Well, yeah, we're here to make things easier for the hosts, right, and kind of automate as much as we can. So we've kind of talked about the product quite a bit. Let's maybe talk about price and promotion. So how do you kind of figure out the pricing for this so that you are making money? But then also, you are selling it, right? We can't do it so expensive so that no one actually buys it. And then promotion as well, maybe you can touch on how do you promote this in the lead up to a stay, or even before a guest is booked. How do we advertise these potential add-ons without, being too pushy and over salesy?
Yeah. I would say first with the pricing, it is totally up to you. We make a store for you and we say, here's the suggested price, but you can change it. We do see people going, oh, I haven't made as many, let's say late checkout sales. And we go, oh, well, your place is $75 a night. You can't be selling your late checkout for $50 an hour, right? So make sure to change it. Also experiment, because you can do change any price. You can have multiple versions of a product and say it's 1 hour for this much, 2 hours for this much, etc. Make sure it's worth your while, though. I would also say don't sell anything under $20. And don't sell anything under $20 because that plays into the second part of it, which is you look like you're selling something, right? If you want to sell hangover kits because everyone's in town for a wedding, get a sticker on Etsy with your listing, put it in a nice bag and sell that for $20, right? And it has Advil and whatever else in it, hydration. Yeah. But it does look really tacky. And of course, my co-founder and I not argue about this, but talk about it all the time because he doesn't think it is for his own properties. And I'm like, it has to be an elevated experience where think about it like this host is going to leave it in the review. Oh my gosh, they saved my life. They had hangover kits and they were so cute, right? Yeah. They're not even saying anything about the payment because that's just a side part of it, right? So positioning it as always a value add is huge. And just pricing it where it's going to sell. You can mess around with that, or you can say, it's only worth my while if it's selling for this much. I don't care if it sells once a month, right? Yeah. So up to you. Messaging around this, we see a lot of people add in their listing description, sometimes even pictures. They're like, we have a Reiki healer, right? Or you can do a custom picnic on site. They're adding photos. They're not adding it in there if it's on Airbnb. They're not adding it in their list of amenities because those are things you're expected to be included in the price. So I wouldn't include massage in your amenities. I would say connection to spa services or something like that. The most successful people, they included in their outgoing messaging right after the person books, 1 week out. And that's a great one too, because it gets people excited about the stay. Hey, you're 7 days out. If you'd like to book any services to add to your stay, do so now. And then that also kind of gets your guests asking questions that they might need, or they might actually look at your check-in instructions before they're at the door, right?
That's good.
Yeah. On site, we have users who use the host co for things that break or things that people lose all the time, which is a really interesting one. Like, oh, you're in Florida and you need a beach key. Well, everybody loses a beach key because they go to the beach, right? Like, of course they do. But instead of having another runner run it out, they have a locked cabinet. And they can sell it in their host co store, and it gives the information only on their email receipt. So code of that drawer is 1234, which is really useful. So we can send out, or you can send out through your store, individual links. So if you also start to see patterns of guests on day 4 always ask this question, you can send out that unique link that morning, or you can send out the link to the store that morning. And your guests are like, oh, wow, they're really thinking about us, even though it's automated, right? Send it out on day 4. And when they see that product, they also see all the other things that are available. And even in their checkout cart, we have a lot of retailing technology that suggests other popular products from your store to the guest, even when they checkout.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Nice. So we've talked a lot about the benefits, but maybe what are some of the pitfalls and challenges and stumbling blocks that you see hosts making in that journey?
I'd say one thing is only sharing the store. We have you can print out QR codes and signage and all that, but a lot of things that people want to do have a lead time. So you can't get a massage person to show up 2 hours from now. And if you only tell them that there are services available once they check in, they get pretty annoyed when they can't book any of those services. So that has been, that has definitely been a stumbling block. I'm trying to think of some other.
I mean, that's an interesting one because obviously you think that you're going above and beyond by presenting like massages kind of thing, but if they're unbookable, it's actually a worse experience than if you'd offered them all in the first place, right?
Way worse, right? Because they're like, oh, this thing, it's just out of my reach, right? Or at mid-stay clean, or I don't know. Parking spots are one. We have people that say, I've got 10 condos and 2 parking spots. Don't offer that.
That's like here's what you could have won, basically.
If you would have done this thing. Things that are too complicated for you to do yourselves. So if you can't do a picnic by the river, or if you're like, oh, you know what we want to do? We want to do this picnic by the river. And then the day of, you're just stressed out all day. I'm like, oh, I got to go to the Safeway and get a cake. And then I got to go here. Don't do it. Don't do it. Right. Do only things that fit into what you're already doing. And if it's, oh, well, our runner's already going to the store, or, our runner's just running around dropping off more cleaning products. If you have a midterm stay person you can reorder cleaning products, do that. Or you can set a lead time for your own stuff that's 7 days, right? Or 10 days.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, we need 10 days to get this together. Do it. Don't do anything that is last minute or stressful for you.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's good. And then, so we've talked about the benefits, we talked about the challenges. So we've avoided all the challenges, and we think we're doing a good job, kind of thing. How do we measure success? What are some of the metrics that we should be looking at in an upselling campaign?
Well, revenue would be number one. I think that you can have if you have a lot of store views and people aren't buying things, then you diagnose why. Is it because things are too expensive, or is it because people aren't interested in these things? I would just say revenue is number one. And for us, that's number one too, is, are you selling lots of stuff? We have stores that sell, $100 a month, because all they're selling is Christmas ornaments in the shape of North Carolina, the state, which that's all they sell. I'm good for them, if that's what they want to sell. And then we have people, again, that were paying out over $10,000 a month with a group of cabins, right? So I wouldn't say that there's a certain threshold that you want to meet, but I'd say you should probably, success would be making over $250 per listing per month. Otherwise, of course, my co-founder, Michael, hope you're not listening to this, but he'd say, I say, don't do it. If it's too much work for you and you're only making $50 a month, obviously don't do it. But that would be the success metric. Or, we have people that once a month rent out a pontoon boat, and they make $3,000 a week on the pontoon boat. And they have insurance for that as well. You can sell insurance through our platform as well. So I'd also say, don't rent anything unless you are insured. Or the very best way to do that is just sell the insurance for a marked up rate and give away the rental product for free. Because at least in the US, where it's so litigious, you're actually going to have a lot more protections if you give the item away for free and you charge $3,000 for the week of insurance.
Wow, that's a really useful tip for sure. Yeah. Nice. Cool. Awesome. And so we're kind of drawing to the end now. I'd love to kind of get your thoughts on, the future. If you had your crystal ball in front of you and you were thinking about, what's to come for the upsell industry for short-term rental hosts in the coming months and years, what would you guess some of the big changes are coming down the pipe?
I'd say we definitely see the trend of people wanting experiences over things. Yeah. So anything that you can put in front of them that will give them that experience element, and a trend away from the Instagram photo, which I still think you need the Instagram wall. You need something in your house that people are like, oh, I got to take a picture in front of that. But you need the story, because the story is the currency that people are more interested in, particularly as, all of the social channels prioritize video. What is the cool story, and what is the cool story that your guest is taking home? So thinking about that with your rental, which I know it's hard enough to even just think about the design element, but what is the story element? And then anything wellness. Wellness is just going crazy. And wellness is physical, it is mental, it is spiritual, right? There are all these types of wellness that people are looking for on their trips, right? And definitely alcohol. You still see alcohol sales, but it is really decreased.
For sure. Yeah, and I think on that Instagrammable piece, I know, like you said, it's a challenge thinking about the design in general, but we're thinking about just having that one thing, right, to make it a bit wow, and it's that one wow experience, or that one wow feature for the gram, as you say, or for TikTok or whatever the kids are on these days.
That could be three generations of moms in their apron in the kitchen, right? So again, the creativity element is so fantastic to see, of the different things you can offer and what your guests are going to remember.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you very much, Annie. Great having you on today. I hope you've enjoyed the interview.
Yeah, this has been phenomenal. I obviously could talk about this all day, so it's a good thing we're stopping at 30.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure we'll catch up again very soon. Thank you very much for coming on for us.
Thank you.